Welcome, everyone. This is Kim Siciliano at YWCA, Northeastern New York. We're here with a panel of amazing people who are going to be speaking with us today, as it is Homelessness Awareness Month, on homelessness in my community and what can I do. So I want to just open by saying that as of January 2019, there were 92,091 individuals experiencing homelessness on any given day in our state. I assume it can only be higher now. And we, in our community here in Schenectady, we do so much to help all of the people that we interact with through our agencies to support them finding some stability in their housing and to make sure that they are safe. And so Homelessness Awareness Month was first declared in 2007. It looks different in every community. And so we're going to hear from our expert panelists on how they interact in their community to support ending homelessness. I want to welcome Renee Adamany, who is going to just briefly introduce herself as to her role here, and then we're going to move right into our panelists. Renee?
Thank you very much, Kim. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I want to thank all of you again for joining our live stream. I am very proud to be a board member of the YWCA of Northeastern New York. Yay, an amazing organization, as all of your organizations are. I'm also the chair of the Advocacy Committee, and we plan to do one of these live streams almost every month, not December, with a different topic, and have some kind of an action also attached to it. So hopefully you will all join in and watch our other podcasts. So thank you very much. And Kim is going to be our moderator.
Wonderful. Thank you, Renee. And let's start with some introductions. I'll call out your name and then please answer with who you are, obviously, your title, where you work, and how long you've been in that position. Tami.
Hi, I'm Flanders. I'm the housing coordinator with the YWCA Northeastern New York. I've been in this position for 5 years and collectively at the YWCA for 9 years.
Thank you, Tami. Joanne.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Joanne Rafalik, and I'm the acting executive director at SiCM, and I've been in that position now just about a year. Been at SiCM for 3 years, and I can give a little plug for the YW. I was there for 30 years. So I'm giving away my age. Thanks.
Thank you, Joanne. And Katrina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katrina Middleton. I work for Soldier On, and I've been a case manager at Soldier On for almost 7 years, and I'm also a member of the YWCA board.
Thank you, Katrina. Welcome. Brianna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brianna Phillips. I work with Captain Community Human Services, and I am the Street Outreach Program Manager. I've been with the agency for about 3 years now and in this role for 1 year.
Welcome. Thank you, Brianna. Elise.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elise Martin. I am the Director of Housing and Community Services at Schenectady Community Action Program, or SCAP. I've been with SCAP for 7 years, and I've been in this role just over a year.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Eric.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Guzman. I am the Assistant Director of Development at Interfaith Partnership for the Homeless. I work in more of a fundraising capacity in community relations and working with volunteers and folks who are looking to get involved. I've been in this role for 8 years.
Wonderful. So we have a wealth of expertise in the room, per se. And so we're going to dive right into some of our questions and talk about what does homelessness look like in our community? And what does your agency do to serve homeless individuals and support the work that we all do together in partnership? So Tami, if you'd like to start out with what we do here at the YW.
Sure, a lot. I'm going to cover our housing programs that we have. Some are permanent housing, some are emergency housing, some are transitional housing. So we have a domestic violence shelter that is staffed 24/7. It's the Schenectady County Emergency Domestic Violence Shelter. We have rapid rehousing programming, which is money to provide victims of domestic violence to relocate. It could be first month's rent and security or up to a year or two of rental assistance for people fleeing domestic violence. We have Rosa's House, which is 24 subsidized units for women who are legally homeless on intake and living with a diagnosed disability or fleeing domestic violence. We have 52 SROs that rent at a very low rate that DSS can assist in payments for. And we have Stepping Stones, which is economic empowerment housing assistance program for women with children who are fleeing domestic violence. So a lot of housing. Over 2019, we housed 121 women in permanent housing and 275 in shelter. The rapid rehousing is our new transitional program, so we just got that started. We also work with walk-ins. People can come in for a shower, use the phone, get some food, get out of the cold for a little bit, and then be on their way too. So we're a resource for that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tami. Eric.
Hi, everyone. So for us down at Interfaith Partnership for the Homeless, the kind of the bread and butter of our programming is emergency shelter services. That's kind of how the organization was founded. And as the organization's grown, we're just over 35 years old at this point, realizing that there's so much more than providing a roof over someone's head and a meal, and really getting to the root causes of why someone might become homeless. And sort of has dictated the growth of IPH to not look at just what are the needs for the day, but what are the needs long term. And that has grown into creating a housing program for us. We believe in housing first and safe, affordable, case managed, permanent housing for folks to be able to get them out of cycles of chronic homelessness and put them somewhere safe. So our housing program has really taken off in that capacity. We've opened up community-based programming, so individuals who are perhaps on the brink of homelessness before they become homeless can enjoy things like a meal, a hot shower, laundry services, employment services, case management. If that's what they need to keep themselves in the housing that they have, we're there to support them all along the way. Two special situations in our emergency shelter programming, we've sort of grown to be able to fill some gaps of underserved populations. During the winter time, just this time right now, we opened up our Code Blue shelter called Safe Haven. It's a low barrier shelter for individuals who may have been sanctioned from other shelters or have nowhere else to go on cold winter nights. We're gonna take them in, and we're gonna make sure that they have a safe, warm place to sleep. Connect them with case management. It might take a day, it might take a week, it might take 2 months for someone to be able to sit with a case manager and be ready to have conversations about next steps. But we know that they're going to be safe every single night, regardless. If that's all they need the facility for, we're going to do that. Another specialized emergency shelter that we have is actually housed out of St. Mary's Hospital in Troy for individuals who are discharged from emergency rooms who are homeless. Their discharge address would be no address. We can move them into a facility that is equipped and able to handle individuals who need a little bit more elevated care and carefully transitioning them to either shelter or housing services. So as we've grown, we've been able to kind of build this continuum and catch everyone wherever they are on life's journey.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Very comprehensive. And you are located in Albany, correct?
Correct. Albany, Rensselaer County, and Montgomery County.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Elise from SCAP.
Yes, so all of our programs across the board work to support people either to maintain their housing so they do not become homeless, or if they are homeless, get them rapidly rehoused into permanent housing. So our services range from our employment services, which also include reentry services, as well as our early learning programs, which include Head Start. All of those case managers are able to support people so we can be proactive or as reactive and quick as possible to get people permanently housed. Specifically in my department, Housing and Community Services, we have the Community Resource Network, which provides same-day case management support. No requirements for entry. Anyone can come to us. We have an online portal, so if you go to scapny.org, you'll see a big red button. You can fill that out if you're looking for help from us. And we see a lot of people who are experiencing homelessness or going through the eviction process that we can provide support through the Community Resource Network. We also have a number of permanent housing programs. So we provide financial support as well as long-term case management to get people rapidly rehoused.
Wonderful. Now, at least community action programs. I know that SCAP is obviously here in Schenectady County, but how many are there across New York State?
So there is one that serves every single county in New York State, and we are part of a national network. So
Wonderful.
Every single county in every state has a community action network in it. And our mission is to work in partnership, like we all are here. We all work together to coordinate services to best meet the needs in the community. So every CAP agency looks a little different because every community's needs are different. And so we really focus on what's going on in Schenectady and how can we best meet those needs.
Perfect. Thank you. Bree, from Captain.
Yeah, so up here in Saratoga County is where we are with Captain, and I operate a street outreach team specifically that goes right out into the community. It's a team of a caseworker and an outreach worker that engage individuals experiencing homelessness. We do target specifically youth, and we can help them get into our youth shelter, ages 13 to 17 years old. That program operates both now in Saratoga, Fulton, and Montgomery County, which we're very excited about. We can assist people in getting into shelter. We also now have a supportive housing program up here in Saratoga Springs out of Entrada, and that has 10 units for individuals as well to transition hopefully into permanent housing. Along with some of the other partners here up in Saratoga County, we do have rapid rehousing and prevention dollars as well that we can put towards some adults that are needing immediate shelter and housing and stuff like that. So we're really, getting people right on the street, engaging them there and making sure that they know through our agency and with our work that we can take them through all of those different steps to make sure we can assist them in getting into permanent housing.
Wonderful. Now, a lot of times you hear, oh, it's Saratoga. And when people think of Saratoga, they think of Main Street and they think of not a lot of poverty. Where do you get most of your clients from? Like, talk to us a little bit about the demographics of Saratoga.
Absolutely. So you often don't think that homelessness is happening in Saratoga, and you may see on Broadway that there isn't much. But if you go one street over, we have a lot of individuals experiencing homelessness. In Saratoga County, sometimes we see it in the form of encampments. And so we will actually be going into the woods in the places where you guys may be taking your walks that you're not noticing individuals. And so we scout out where the encampments are. We build the trust with the individuals as well. And we get a lot of referrals from our community by hitting the streets, going out and letting people know. And that's exactly why I'm so excited you had me here today, because every single person in this community plays a part in helping someone who is street homeless. It's by saying, hey, do you need help? And I may not be the one to help you, but can I connect you to someone?
Got it.
And so a referral for homelessness is every single one of the individuals listening to this, all of us playing a part of it, making sure that individuals know what resources are available to them.
Great, thank you. Which, Katrina, I've actually heard you tell me stories about going out into the woods to find veterans. So could you talk a little bit about what it is Soldier On does?
Sure. So we help qualified veterans with housing and anything that encompasses housing. So we're in 24 counties. The Eastern New York team is in 24 counties, and we have a Central New York team that covers the rest of New York State. So we assist with first month's rent and security deposits, rental arrears if you've fallen behind in your rent. We offer case management and financial management through a Credit Smart program that we've had on board for almost 2 years now. So if you're trying to clean up your credit or have an active budget, we can help you with that. And we cover a lot of ground, but there's a team of us that provide the services. And, pre-pandemic, we do lots and lots of outreach so that we could, we meet people where they're at. So if a person calls on our toll-free, 24-hour toll-free line and they can't come to us, we will go to them. We've been in woods, we've been in encampments, I've performed intakes on the hood of my car in a parking lot or a McDonald's or a Starbucks. We meet people where they're at. Wonderful. So that we can get them the help that they need.
And Joanne.
Sure.
Yep. So SiCM is maybe a little bit different than some of the agencies that have just presented. But we've been in operation for about 53 years, and we're actually located right on Hamilton Hill. We're at the intersection of Albany Street and Craig Street. And so our major program is the food pantry. And so people do come to us. We don't have case managers actually. And so a lot of SiCM is described as a resource, and we're actually building a resource center. So what we want to do is when people come to us for food or just walk through one of the doors, we can then refer them to an agency to get the help that they need. We give them the food part, and then we can refer out. We don't want to duplicate the services that are out there. We're actually building a new resource center to do that. One of our other programs, though, is St. Joe's Drop-In Center. And there you get a wide variety of people who might come in. And they usually come in the door because they need a hat, especially today, or they need mittens, or they just want a cup of coffee. With COVID, they have to take the coffee and leave. But right now, what they were doing before was they could at least come in, and they can still come in and talk to someone. And there's no intake process. Right now, they do have to give us their name because we have to take their temperature for contact. But it's really just giving out food and finding out if people do have issues, and then we would refer over to the other agencies, whether it's the YW. Certainly, we do a lot of referrals over to SCAP and some of the agencies in the area. So when COVID started, what we've now done is invite agencies to come to the pantry, but they stand outside and they can meet people as they're waiting in line. The other program that addresses the women that are in our community is actually a YW program, but that's Patty's Place. And that also will give usually personal care items to the women that are very often living on the streets, but they're working on the streets. And so that's one of our other programs to address the homeless population that we see on the Hill, definitely. And the majority of the guests that we do see come from the 12303 zip code, which is the Hamilton Hill, and the 12303, which is the Mount Pleasant area. Where we do see people, especially now due to COVID, we see people from all the zip codes, but those are certainly the two target areas that we see.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joanne. Now, Schenectady Inner City Ministries has been around for a long time, but you changed your name, yes?
So, yes, now we're Schenectady Community Ministries for two reasons. Because we have expanded out to all of Schenectady County, and we've also become interfaith. So it's no longer just a Christian agency. It has accepted any of the congregations that have actually worked with us for years. So it's really a procedural change, I guess.
Right.
But we've always worked with all of the congregations in the area. We get most of our donations and most of our support from the congregations that are out there.
Perfect. Thank you. So we move on to our next question, which really talks about the causes, the root of homelessness, specific to the areas and the demographics that you're working within right now in your agencies. So Elise, would you just talk a little bit about what you feel or what SCAP feels are the causes?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really easy to see homelessness as a single person issue. So you can look at a family and say, okay, this person lost their employment that led to them not being able to pay their rent. They were evicted. They became homeless. But what community actions focus is really looking at what are the larger systems at play. So I truly believe that the cause of homelessness is our systematic discrimination that is baked into all of our systems, racism, sexism, ableism, that prevents people from being able to access the same resources.
Wonderful. Thank you. Katrina, how about at Soldier On? What do you see as some of the root causes of homelessness?
I'd have to agree with Elise with some of this, with the systemic racism that are in our systems, but some of the other causes that are pretty obvious, but I'll just mention loss of employment, reduction of hours at their employments, death of a significant other who provides the other half of the income in the household, and that is lost. In more recent times, the pandemic, and a financial hardship. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, and something as simple as their car breaking down can throw off the cycle of payments in their household because they need their car to get to work. So they rob Peter to pay Paul. And then that can set them behind. And then it will snowball from there. Another trend that we're seeing is a lot of our veterans are younger
Okay.
and being and they're getting out of the military with no plan in place during the pandemic. So
Mm,
that's something new that's happening, or they've had a plan and it fell through, and
right.
it's left them in a lurch.
Okay. Great. Great points. Thank you. Tami, how about the YW's perspective?
Sure. And I have to agree with everything that Elise and Katrina brought up, especially looking at systemic racism and multi-generational poverty in families and loss of a spouse, loss of that second income. We often have women come in who are waiting for spousal benefits and can take 2-3 years sometimes. There's so many steps to take, and it can be confusing if you are challenged with mental health needs that are unmet. But the ones that we see coming through the door at the Y, obviously domestic violence, individuals fleeing domestic violence is one of the biggest populations that we see and we serve. Women recovering from addiction, maybe they're coming from a treatment program during which you're deemed legally homeless and they might not have a home to go back to. So we take a lot of women in who are early in recovery. Prison release. We can't always take people directly. They might have to stop at Booth Home and wait there for a little bit for room to open, but we can at least do the intakes while they're incarcerated and get the ball rolling on that one. People just experiencing poverty. People think that the women who live with us don't work, and most of them do. It's just not enough to sustain independent living, and so they need subsidized housing that we can provide safely with staff and good working locks and maintenance and stuff that they might not find in a boarding house. That might be the other part they could afford. And then the other population that we try to serve a lot is we're very trans inclusive. So for trans women, going into the homeless shelters can feel very unsafe and threatening. They might not even try. So we're really grateful when we can help trans women get into a private apartment with their own bathroom and private place to sleep without worrying about.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good points, Tami. Joanne, how about at SiCM?
Certainly all the issues that everyone has brought up. The other issue that we're seeing more and more is that people aren't equipped with basic life skills. So the interaction that you have to have with a landlord or a leasing company can be very overwhelming. And so we're finding that a lot is people will say, oh, I have to go on that internet thing to, secure housing, to make an application out. And it's so easy to assume that everyone can read. Mm-hmm. And they can't, and so they do need help. So we see a lot of that. Can you help me fill out this application?
Right.
And then when they're asking for references and other places that they've lived, it's difficult to put down Vale Park, that's where my last place that I lived. And so what do they say on the application? So I know that a lot of our staff helps with things like that, of helping them fill out those applications. Someone had mentioned the death of a spouse. We just had one of our guests come in today who is now being evicted because the guy that she was living with was found dead the other day. And so the landlord is evicting her. And we said, well, where's your lease? And she says, I have no clue. She says, I don't even know if I signed a lease. So it's those skills that many of us take for granted that, we would put our paperwork in a certain place. Well, a lot of these guests that we deal with, that's not part of their lives. And so that whole thing of just listening to them and helping them to sort out, what comes next. How do I deal with a new landlord? And is it my right to call someone? A lady last week said the landlord took the toilet out last week and they haven't replaced it yet.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, okay, that's not something that should be happening.
Right.
But she wasn't confident to call the person and say, I need a toilet, and so it's that confidence that a lot of people don't have in themselves, that they very often need an advocate or someone to, help them. And then they become frustrated. They don't pay their rent. And then, the trickle down effect is that they're then homeless. Right. And so we're seeing a lot of that, and especially now with COVID, because I think a lot of the landlords, even though they know you're not supposed to be evicting, they're like this case today. you know, she goes, well, he told me I'm going to be evicted December 1st. And we're going, okay, let's deal with this, because that's not going to be possible. He can't, it's not legal anymore.
Right.
So those are some of the things that we see. It's just that lack of life skills and the lack of confidence in themselves to stand up for their rights. Of what they should have. And I think the other thing that we see a lot of, and we hear a lot of, is that the apartments that people are taking, and I'm talking about the area of Schenectady that we're living in, the apartments have a lot of mold. And the mold issue now, people will come in and they have asthma conditions. And when you talk to them, and one lady, she brought in pictures and she showed us what was happening, and it's very hard to get someone to clean that up. And they go, well, oh, that's normal for them, because so many of the apartments are not what they, code enforcement is a little iffy around there. And so they're dealing with a lot of those issues. And I certainly understand it, because they're only a paycheck away. They don't have the resources to put down another, down payment someplace. How do you come up with that extra, month's rent? And so those are a lot of the things that, we deal with. And like I said before, SiCM tries to refer out. We're constantly sending people to SCAP, for that kind of help that they need, because we can only go just so far.
Right.
The St. Joe's is run by two of the sisters of St. Joseph, and they too will help as far as they can to get them to referral to the other agencies that are out there.
And I think that's because if they're people where they're at, right there, basically on the street, on Hamilton Hill, and they can just transition over, call SCAP, call Captain, call IP, and they're going to be able to help you. I think that's key. So I want to hear from Bree and Eric. So Eric, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, everything that everyone has said so far are definitely like reasons that people become homeless that we're seeing. In our emergency shelter in Albany alone last year, or this year rather, we had about 300 folks come through, and 220 of those individuals had some type of developmental disability or physical disability. We're seeing lots of folks with mental health issues coming through that, perhaps have never been able to hold a job and therefore have had no income, and perhaps have burned bridges with family members or friends, and ultimately end up alone, homeless with no income coming into our care. A lot of work has to be done to rebuild identities. They don't even have identification anymore, and you need an ID to do anything. So we're spending a lot of time in a shelter setting trying to build an identity for someone to be able to apply for benefits and get them an income stream again. And then, like the life skills we talked about, to be able to hold a job and get into treatment programs. So it's tough. The other side is lack of affordable housing for us. We're not comfortable moving individuals into housing that we don't think is appropriate, that we don't think will be sustainable, that we will end up seeing them in another 6 months, perhaps. We're hesitant to do that, which is why, all the folks that are in the business of building housing and adding appropriate housing and being good landlords, that's the work that has to be done to be able to put people in a dignified place, to be able to be safe, case managed, and not end up back.
So Eric, what is the time frame from when somebody walks in to when you actually have, as you said, rebuilt their identity, when they then can start getting a funding stream? Like, what is that time frame?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, it does vary person by person. The average length of stay for an individual in our Albany emergency shelter is about 30 days. So in that 30-day time frame, we are kind of rebuilding them. All of that, and hopefully discharge them to a positive living situation. Wherever.
Wonderful. And Bree, how about Captain?
Yeah, I'll kind of sum up everything, that everyone said. There's a big thing that I always say is individuals have experienced trauma. A lot of these things that we have talked about are a trauma to an individual. And so even youth, running away from home, there is something that has occurred that has made someone need to leave their situation. And often that is a trauma. So the time that it takes to rebuild their sense of self, their identity, their income, and all of that, it takes time. It absolutely does. And so just as much as you think of, what went into causing homelessness, it takes that much time to help walk someone out of it and rebuild that strength that they had. And that they still have. So a lot of the times, again, we are seeing generational poverty. we're seeing domestic violence in the home. But really, I put it back to
Thank
that.
you. What, that's a
trauma
great
has
way
occurred
to sum it up. So let's go to our final set of questions around how do you support ending homelessness, and what can people do to help us with that? Because we as professionals in this field clearly have items on a checklist. We know that we've got to make sure people have identification. We've got to make sure they've got food, they've got housing, they've got enough money for first and last month's rent. We all know how to do that. But how does the general population help us support ending homelessness? So let's start with Katrina.
I had to unmute myself. You know, I don't want to sound like Debbie Downer, but it's a huge undertaking to end homelessness. I'm not sure what the magic answer is. I know for Soldier On, we want anyone to refer to us if they come across a veteran that they think that we may be able to help, so that we can screen them for eligibility. Even if we can't spend money, we can case manage and help in other ways. I'm a veteran myself, and I love my job. I love giving back, but I don't know the answer to what the community can do to end homelessness of any kind. Do we start from a political standpoint and we vote for people whose their platform and part of their agenda is to end homelessness? I've been doing this work for about 7 years, and I feel like it's a buzzword at certain times of the year instead of something being in the forefront of minds all the time. So I wish that I had an answer. I guess I'd be rich if I did.
Or your community would be rich with your generosity, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry.
I don't think that's a wrong answer. I think it's an answer that many of us question on any given day in the jobs and the work that we do. So I thank you for being so honest and open.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go to Bree. Since I waited for last time, let's bring her in a little bit earlier this time.
Thank you. Yeah. So one of the biggest
Kim,
things
can I
would
just
say-
add
Bree,
one
hang
little-
on. Renee'd like
Kim,
to
can I-
say something.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just add one little thing? Besides the general causes, maybe if you all have any immediate needs, I know this is the holiday season and it doesn't solve the big picture, but if you have any immediate needs, because lots of people will be watching this. So, people tend to be generous this time of the year. So besides that question,
Yeah, that would
kind
be
of throw in
wonderful.
if you
And
guys
Katrina,
need
we'll check with
something
you again, just in case you think of
Okay.
something that you want to shout out for Soldier
Yes.
On, because we definitely want to get that in there, okay? Bree, back to you.
Yeah, so for us, one of the biggest things I say is don't be afraid to engage. Learn how to reach out to those that are experiencing street homelessness, because the kindness and the generosity of our individuals on the street may be the spark that gets someone to then trust an individual like an outreach worker, then coming up and saying, what more can I do to offer to help you? So first, I think our first line of defense is just getting comfortable, having conversations, knowing your community agency's numbers so that you can call and make that referral yourself to help them. You can be an individual of the community helping out in that way. And then for outreach programs like ours, in-kind donations are great. So socks, hats, mittens, all of those things allows us around those basic needs to be able to take our money and focus on things like Eric had said, which is IDs, birth certificates, things that actually really cost money. So when we have availability of deodorant and shampoo, we can save our money on those things and then go and really help these individuals build their identities. So I would say look at your agencies, start to familiarize yourself with what they have available, and check out their websites. At Captain, we actually, to help with COVID, we started an online store. So if you go to our website, you can see that my program is looking for donations for meals, and $20 for us gets us to be able to go out and give about 50 meals to our kids to go. So just that one donation goes really far. And you can check out our store at captaincares.org. And that would be one of the best ways to help us out.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bree. Elise at SCAP.
Yeah, so I would say if you're a landlord and you're listening to this, reach out to one of us on this call and say you're interested in working with us. That is obviously the most immediate way we can get someone from homelessness to housed. If we have some safe and affordable housing to get them into, all of us have access to resources and financial support and case management. So we make great partners. If you are a landlord, on a program level, we certainly need more affordable housing in the community. So that means that a family could spend 30% or under of their income on housing. There's, just not enough of that. So we have people who have vouchers that could pay their full rent, and we just can't find an apartment for them. So certainly having more affordable housing, and then also more supportive housing programs. We've all talked about how great that marriage is of case management and housing, helping people to maintain that housing and keep them out of homelessness. So having more of those programs available in the community. And lastly, I would add, educate yourselves on what the myths are of poverty and homelessness. So you can talk to your friends and family. If you hear someone talking incorrectly about it, there are a ton of misconceptions about it. So know what the true causes of poverty and homelessness are. Know what you can do in your community. If someone's coming up to you and asking for help, where can you refer them? So just getting involved and doing some digging, what's happening kind of at each level, local, state, nationally, and getting yourself familiar with those trends.
Wonderful. Thank you, Elise. Eric, IPH.
I think we've kind of hit the nail on the head. I think, first of all, just having the dialogue about homelessness, right? If one person after this live stream went and talked about this at the dinner table and said, what can we do to support our homeless community? That would be one more person that is helping potentially save someone's life. And so just like a lot of people said, things like meals are great for IPH. Cooking your favorite lasagna recipe and dropping a tray off to a shelter is a cost savings that we can use to be able to do lots of other things and buy essential items that our guests need every day. Collecting in-kind items. We've got an Amazon wish list going, so you don't even have to have any contact with us. You just buy it from Amazon. It goes right to our door. And then think about skills that you have. Maybe you're a graphic designer and can help out with a newsletter that can end up, raising funds for an organization. That's a great way to use a skill. You might not think that it parallels exactly with helping the homeless, but things like that and niche skills that you have really can help. So it comes back to getting to know the organizations and causes you're passionate about, having a dialogue with the staff there, asking for a tour if that's even available. But again, being comfortable talking and asking the questions, what can I do and how can I help? Because as you can see, we've all got plenty of things. There's a lot of work to do.
There is, absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Joanne at SiCM.
So some of the things that, certainly everything that you said, are huge issues that we can certainly support. One of the big things that SiCM is looking to do is in the new resource center is that we'll have information so that if someone comes in, they can get the help that they need. We can do a referral immediately for them in hopefully a comfortable place that people are very comfortable coming to, St. Joe's or Patty's Place or the pantry. And so hopefully that will be a warm place that they can also go into and access computers, but we'll have someone there who will have a staff person there who will be able to help them do that. So that would be kind of right there on the streets that they can walk in and use the facilities. The other thing that we have found due to COVID, obviously, that one-to-one contact is very difficult. And not that this is the best of time to be doing this, but I'm going to use an example. We had a group from Elise who come to volunteer. And they actually, besides volunteering in the pantry, they're actually going outside and talking to the guests as they're in line waiting for food. So that one-to-one contact, you have to wear the mask, and right now you have to have gloves and everything else on because it's cold. But that seeing someone who they can actually talk to has been made a huge difference. That's how we got people to register for the census. That's how we got people to vote, because people were there. They could actually see you and they could talk to you. They're standing and waiting in line to get into the pantry. We're serving about 80 families every day. So that line goes down Albany Street. And so that one-to-one contact is an excellent time to be able to reach people. I think the other thing is that exactly what you were saying, that hopefully some renters are going to see this video and are going to reach out, and maybe it will set a light bulb off that the places that they're renting need to be safe and they need to be clean. And that's a human right for everyone to have. And so besides educating those renters, we need to continue to educate our guests that this is your right. This isn't something that you should be fighting for. And so talking with people and encouraging them and, educating that it's okay to use your voice.
Right.
It's such a huge part. The other thing that I know the Y deals with, and I'm sure the rest of you deal with, is the children that are involved in this. Right now, we have a whole lost population of children that are not in school. I know they're not in school because they're in line at the pantry in the morning a lot of times. And so that's another issue with the whole homeless population. Or they might have a place, but it doesn't have the internet connections. Right. So the kids can't access the education that they're supposed to be accessing. But I think the education for both the renters and for our guests are so important, and to help people have a voice that they can grow in those life skills that they need to talk to the renters. And I really am hoping that our resource center opens very soon. We're looking at the beginning of February, so that people in our community can come in and use the telephone. They can use the bathrooms, and they can use the computers, or they can actually talk to someone who can help them find the correct resource that's out there in the community. At some point, we'd like to have a washer and dryer. That's kind of on our wish list. We'll see how that
we're hoping somebody's out there listening right now and they're going to answer that prayer. So
yeah, you never know, right? That can happen. Some of the things to help SiCM collect food. We were relying greatly on the congregations that are out there. When their congregations came into worship, they would bring us canned goods. The congregations aren't worshiping in person anymore, so our in-kind donations have dropped considerably. And it's very interesting because from the food bank we can get all the basic supplies. We can get the canned peas, and we can get meat and everything. But when people donate, if they donate spices, or if they donate, I know this is an extra, but chocolate syrup that kids love, or birthday cake mixes, those extra things that really make a difference. You can cook, you can throw a chicken in the oven, but if you don't have those extra spices, it's kind of boring. Sauces and things like that people we used to get a lot of that through in-kind donations, and we're not getting those anymore. We need the basics too. We need the peanut butter, we need the jelly, we need crackers. Things like that to help people out. We've been very fortunate that the Y helped us out with some personal care items, because we needed tampons and pads for a lot of the women that came in, and we were at the low supply. And someone had said, if you have those things, then you can use your resources to buy other things.
Right.
And so we do look for those types of donations all the time. And of course, money is also welcome.
Right. Thank you, Joanne. Elise, you had one more thing you wanted to throw out before we wrap up with Tami, and one more thing that you thought people could help SCAP with.
Yeah, so piggybacking off of what Joanne was saying in terms of financial donations to the agency, SCAP runs the Emergency Fund, which is part of our community resource network that is a collaborative effort across Schenectady County to fill the needs that other grant programs can't meet. So in the grant world, there's a lot of strict eligibility and certain things that we can spend money on. So this is a fund that if it's not covered by somewhere else in the community, anyone can access for needs. We have seen a lot of people come to us for rent and first month security over the last couple of months. We do a lot of IDs, birth certificates, buying someone work boots so they can get to their first day on the job safely. There's no limit to what we can spend money on in this. It's really creative problem solving, and 100% of the donations go directly back to the community. There's no administration funds taken out of it or anything like that. So it's a really great way to support this Schenectady community.
Great. And Tami from the YW, your thoughts?
Okay. On the prevention field, I think one of the biggest needs that we see, we're talking about a very transient population, just being homeless in its own, but for the people fleeing violence, which is a lot of who we're serving, they lose their health home when they leave. They lose their mental health counseling when they leave. They leave their addiction treatment home base when they leave. And I can't even tell you how often there's a 6-month wait that we've got somebody who needs their mental health medication. They need a doctor's appointment. They need a surgery. They need a counselor. They need an addictions therapist. And the wait is so long that people can fall through the cracks pretty severely while they're in that waiting zone, where if they had those services in place, they might be more able to be steadily employed, and they might be able to navigate filling out all those applications and forms because they're not so overwhelmed with the chaos of homelessness. Women come in all the time and just, I haven't been able to have a doctor because I haven't been able to have a phone or an address to receive mail. And so, I was diagnosed with breast cancer last year, but I'm still trying to get established. And with case management, we can sit and help fill out those forms, call the dentist, make an appointment. But it's saturated. The wait is so long, it's dangerous. Helping with food, I just had to give a shout out to Joanne and SiCM. We recently had a situation where our residents were facing some pretty severe food insecurities. And there was a process each of them could have followed individually to fill out a form and answer questions and be interviewed and do an intake. And they're private, and it was overwhelming. And I was able to call Joanne and say, I've got 50 people who need food. What can you do? And I thought there might be a bag, or something coming from this grocery store showed up in our parking lot. And it took 7 of us 4 hours to unload all of the food that they were able to provide, and just bridging that gap and seeing looks on people's faces when their food needs were met was really special. So thank you, Joanne, for chipping in with us that time. We might need that again. And then just, better access to affordable housing, like everyone else has said. If you're a landlord and you're watching this, we want your apartments too. And we've got a lot of systems in place and people who need really immediate, rapid rehousing. And there's a serious lack of landlords in decent housing, where, again, working with integrity and empowering women, we want them to have safe homes that we can pay for. So other immediate needs that we have are seasonal. We need warm, twin-size bedding, comforters, pillows. We need hats, scarves, coat. We don't need socks. We have a lot of socks, but we need the blankets and pillows, glass scarves. And we also need easy to prepare and microwavable food. Due to COVID, we've had to restrict how many people can use our communal kitchen at a time. So it used to be, it could be 5-6 people in there at a time cooking. But now it's limited to 1 or 2 people at a time. And when we have 42 women, that means sometimes there's just a line of people hungry and waiting. So if we can get easy microwavable foods, it can help people keep with the social distancing, or if somebody's on quarantine, they really can't enter the kitchen. And so microwavable foods are really the way that they're sustaining. So donations of that would be great. If you do want to donate to the YWCA, we do have an approval process. You just call and ask to make a donation, and you'll be transferred to Krinder McHale, who can approve it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tami. Now, Katrina, was there anything else that you had thought of that specifically could support Soldier On?
Like a lot of people are saying, access to affordable housing would help. So, because we're willing to pay for 1 month's rent, security deposit, but the apartments just aren't there. So landlords, if you're listening, give us a shot.
Right.
Give us all a shot. And we'll take financial contributions. Pre-pandemic, you could volunteer your time. Now, I think you could go to wesoldieron.org and look at our website to see what we are doing now as far as volunteers and giving donations. I remember year before last, we received a slew of coats, warm huge warm weather coats or cold weather coats. And it took us about a year to get rid of them, but we did. And see the look on someone's face to receive a warm coat for the winter, it's just very special. So, and again, refer. If you know of a veteran, if you're driving along in the city and you see someone holding a sign, give them our toll-free number if you're comfortable, 866-406-8449.
Perfect.
And that will put you in touch with our intake line, who will put the veteran in touch with a case manager.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, Katrina.
Thank
We
you.
just want to wrap up to this conversation, very powerful and impactful conversation. And I will tell you that if you're looking in the comment sections, my friends, we've gotten a lot of accolades for everything that we're talking about today, that it is necessary, needed, and it only gets done through us working together. So Renee, I didn't know if you wanted to bring up one final thing, and then we'll close it out with a big thank you. In fact, let me do the thank you first to Carrie Wolf-Piota, who is behind the scenes, acting as Oz, making sure we're all behaving here on this live stream. For all of you, this is live right now on Facebook, but you can always go back and watch a recap of everything we just talked about if you want more information on any of these fabulous organizations. So Renee, would you like any final words, Renee?
I just want to say I think all of you are doing amazing work. I failed to mention my other head as I teach human services social work at SUNY Schenectady, and many of our students have been involved with many of your organizations. And so that's, I want to thank you all for that, because it's a great learning experience for that. And it's kind of a win-win for everybody too. But you all do amazing work. It's not easy, I know, in these COVID times to be on the ground. It's not easy anyway. But then we've had to kind of do it in the encapsulation of COVID. So I just want to thank everybody really for taking the time and doing this, and thanking everybody who listened in the comment section. And hopefully you'll get some, good donations and actions from this live stream. And so look for other ones in other months. We hope to have another one in January, February, March, April, and May. So on different various topics. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
thank
Renee.
you, Kim, for moderating.
We have Elise from SCAP.
Yeah.
We have Eric from IPH, Joanne from SiCM, Katrina from Soldier On, Bree from Captain, and Tami from the YWCA here in Schenectady. Is there anything that anybody else has to say that they feel just wraps up this entire conversation, or are we all good? I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, or somebody didn't forget to say something. Everybody's good. So I'm just going to read one of the comments here to close this out. It is great to see such tremendous support in so many programs in the region. And then somebody else wrote, working together is key. So we are blessed to have this partnership, this group of warriors who are out there doing the job, walking the walk and talking the talk. So I just want to thank you all and wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving as well as holiday season. So please, if you can help us out, we can definitely put everything you bring to our agencies to good use. Thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.